That's a beautiful edition of the Vibely Podcast. My name is Kofi Tagbo. Today on this podcast, we don't have a stranger. We have someone who has already been here and wowed our guests. The last time we were here, we spoke about whether or not Catholics should consider marrying their mates, Catholics in the church, or whether marrying outside the church is allowed and all that. In our conversation the last time, we came to the realization that Father is not just a Catholic priest on Sundays or during weekdays as you see him, but he's a very good writer. In one of the books he has written, which I don't know why is not one of the bestsellers in Ghana, The Marathon to Marriage, a compendium of 4 remote marriage preparation. Today, we are going to delve into this book, and he's going to tell us all that we need to know in our preparation towards marriage. But before that, tell us how your February has been, how your Valentine has been. Tell us in the comment section what love actually means to you. And if you're not married, tell us whether you are scared or you want to enter into the institution of marriage. Welcome, Reverend Father Raymond Osei-Tutu. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I feel good to be around. Yeah.
It's always awesome to have you here. In fact, the last time we had to cut a lot of things because of time, but the knowledge was so enriching. Every time you are talking, something comes up, lots of questions to ask, and you have the right answers to give. But Father, it seems this is the first time you are seeing Rita on the show. Always Rita is behind the camera. So, Father, you will give Rita a Vibely welcome. If you remember how we do the Vibely greetings. Do you remember?
No.
All right, so remind.
Yeah,
Father is welcome you
okay,
by
yeah.
name.
So, Father, I'll punch you in the palm. No, open your palm.
Okay.
I punch you, then you punch me, then you shake.
Shake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Father, you welcome.
Yeah. So,
Welcome
hello. Rita is on set. This time not behind. I guess it's because the issue is about love. And so she's going to punch where it needs to be punched. I'm just expecting to hear some wild undercuts of love. Rita, you're welcome. I'm sure guys have been waiting to see and hear from you.
So she's a lady behind the camera.
Yeah.
She does the editing sometimes. Rita, what does love mean to you?
Well, love is not just a feeling, but a choice. Yes, so that is what love is to me.
And your February, how's your February? Are you the Valentine kind of person?
Oh, yes, I am. Just that.
That what?
Just that. Just that.
Did you nash
Just
or
that.
you didn't nash?
I'll be gnashing.
You nash, yeah. All right, sorry.
No, but you know what? As long as you have somebody or you are loving yourself or loving somebody, it's Valentine. Valentine doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in a relationship. As if to say, those not in relationship don't know love. You see, love, first of all, is to love yourself. Not necessarily to be in love with yourself, but to love yourself, that you are able to share with others. So if you are able to love yourself, that's a great Valentine coming up. And then you are also able to share with another in a quality time. It doesn't have to be in a very formal relationship. Just a good outing, very good quality time. It's a good Valentine.
We don't really have those things these days anymore. Just spending. Hey, Father, just spending time with someone like that. It doesn't happen. Or it happens.
Well, it rarely happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it rarely happens.
Well, you say barely happens, but I guess it's that because if you force yourself for a Valentine when it's not a Valentine, then really you just deceived yourself. But if I celebrate a Valentine that in 2 years' time becomes a marriage, then how would I say it wasn't a Valentine?
Not true though.
Because every plant, every tree that you see has its rooting stage.
Yeah.
So if with the time I'm courting, the time I'm preparing is part of my Valentine. Modern people only want to see the fruit and talk about the tree, but it's been years of growing before it became a fruit. So Valentine must be seen in the continuum of those who are yet to find, those who are thinking about it, those who have somebody, those who have been ditched, those who have just tying the knot, and those who are actually in marriage. Because you could be having a partner, but have a very bad Valentine Day, I tell you.
We hope your Valentine's Day went well. That's all we can hope for. Father, we are talking about the marathon to marriage. What went into the thoughts of coming up with a book like this? Which kind of preparation did you go through as a Catholic priest to, you know, pre- think think about preparation towards marriage, which is not your vocation? What has gone into it? What has gone into this work? Tell us all about, briefly, all about the marathon to marriage.
Well, I guess this book, Marathon to Marriage, is a fruit of long meditations and everything. It started about, let's say, 15 years ago, or plus more than 15 years ago, when I worked at St. Kizito Catholic Church, and we wanted to bring young people together and start talking about relationship way before. Now, being a canonist, one who has studied the code of canon law, the code of canon law in canon 1063 says that pastors of souls like myself are supposed to ensure that in their parishes they have teaching opportunities for people who are preparing, people who are entering, people who are in marriage, and people who have just left marriage. So, this is where the whole concept of remote marriage preparation comes from. So, it's a canon requirement for every church. And in the Catholic Church of the Accra, Catholic Archdiocese of Accra, this is the marriage policy, which was enacted in 2013. The priest is supposed to have a very first conversation with the prospective couple. When you get to the priest in page 44 of the policy, one of the questions, number one, he says, your name, how does it appear? And then your birth certificate. Then how long have you lived in the diocese? Still question one. And then there it says, have you attended any remote marriage preparation? Yes or no? Do you have any document to prove it? So the mind of the church for the Catholic Archdiocese of Accra is that, and in fact, for the whole Catholic Church is that before people get to say, I am in love, or I have I'm in dating, I should have learned something. Can you imagine somebody says, I'm in the university and has no record of primary or KG or whatever? That's disaster. That's pure disaster. So, Marathon to Marriage is a book that is supposed to form the foundations. When I was doing this back in St. Kizito, there was no manual. So when the marriage policy came out since 2013, I've been thinking about it, but I was sent out for studies. And when I came back, I was asked to do so many things. So at the next opportune time, I tried to come up with a manual based on my years of counseling experience, pastoral experience, working in the tribunal for more than 22 years. We bring all together. And also, I am an alternative dispute resolution, person. So I use things about I use all of them. I'm also HR. I have an HR background. Okay, so I bring all these things together, and I have a little bit of education with me. So when you read a book, you see that there are learning objectives for every step that you go. So, and then you build on a learning of every teacher should have learning objectives. Based on that, you can evaluate. And there is a certificate supposed to be given in 3 phases when we go into the book. It's a mind-blowing thing.
It is. It is. Father, looking at the contents of the book, it tells it covers every aspect of marriage in the Catholic Church. It goes from finding a partner, talking about your honeymoon and all that. But I want us to quickly run through the procedure. Maybe for someone in this month of February, the person found love and is hoping to get married maybe by end of year as a Catholic priest, one with the experience of the tribunal and all that. Tell us the process one has to go through in the Catholic Church to get married.
Okay.
We can do that very briefly and then we go into the book.
Okay. So the first thing that, like this questionnaire would ask, have you any prior learning experience on marriage? If not, then probably you need 3 years. You understand? That's how blunt I want to put it. But if you have had prior knowledge, then you need a minimum of 6 months. I didn't say maximum. I said minimum. Minimum of 6 months, not doing coursework, but allowing yourself and your partner time of every week, coming together, gathering information that is supposed to provoke the two of you to start thinking about this thing you call marriage. For example, you want to marry. Have you thought of a medical exam? Do you know your genotype? When was the last time you did an AIDS test? Interesting. Now, you want to marry. You want to marry somebody who is not Catholic. What do you do? Do you know what it means? You want to marry. You want to marry. For example, this book will challenge you. Now, in today's, as an HR person, we do SWOT analysis. You do SWOT analysis of companies. You do SWOT analysis of businesses. Now, if I gave you a scenario of the marriage between, say, Ananias and Sapphira, and I ask you, would you be able to give me a SWOT analysis? Simply, are you able to identify their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and their threats? Would you be able to do that? Now, if a person is not able to make a SWOT analysis of any marriage or relationship, and the person says is entering into marriage, that's a recipe for danger. As Catholics, we believe in the communion of saints. For example, do you know any saint which you invoke before you get into relationship? Whilst you are in relationship, if this is your second relationship, is there a saint for that? Is there a saint that helps you find your partner? Of course, yes.
There's a saint for invoking to be invoked in your second relationship.
Oh yes.
Fourth, fifth.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Harvey, your next Harvey.
And all these stuff you find in here.
Wow.
Saints. Just saints.
Mm.
And these are supposed to be your spiritual companions. These are things. So now you give yourself a minimum of 6 months preparation. Now you know that.
Father, is this 6 months preparation the counseling period?
Yes. The 6 months before you say you want to marry somewhere in December, we are in February. Okay. We've started the Valentine. And I'm sure most people just want to get into marriage, and the next thing is that when are the children going to come and everything. But people don't know that early children in marriage is also one of the recipes for misery in marriage.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm.
Why?
Early children.
Yes. To have children so early in your marriage can be misery in your marriage. Except maybe you are old, a couple of one. But the point is that if the two of you who have never lived together have your child within the first few months, it means the woman is going to be pregnant for the next 9 months and going to spend another month after that nursing the child. So the bonding between the two of you is going to be lost.
Mm.
And you didn't know each other well. You only were courting. Now you are living under the roof. And there she is. She is preoccupied. And why not? With life. Has to be taken care of. So people just think, so one has to ask, when is the best time to have a child? When the two of you have started really bonding and understand what it means to live under one roof and sleep on the same bed and enjoy a man or woman who snores. You understand? Now you haven't gotten to that and you have started dreaming, when am I going to have a child?
But the pressures of family.
Yes,
Yes.
but that's society. Society is always putting pressures, especially the things that are not so useful are the things that we pressure ourselves about. That's society of today.
Father, not just society, but health-wise, like maybe for the women. You get it?
You're right. Very right. But yes, health-wise, yes,
Yes.
but it's God who gives.
Well, true.
God who gives. So that, the whole thing about birth control, if you read this book, it's going to be coming up. It's not just about birth control. In the Christian sense, we call it birth regulation. You understand? So the fact that I have a wife and I can have her at any time doesn't mean I should have her at any time, because having her comes with a responsibility. It's a juridic act. Scripture says I have the right to do what I have the permission to do a lot of things, but I do not merely have to use it because I have the right to. If you use it, get ready for the consequence.
Right. So Father, we've
That's a
had
lot.
the we've had the counseling bit
Yes.
of the process
Yes.
in getting marriage. After I actually
At the
have
end of the
questions.
counseling,
I have questions about the counseling, because it seems that now people are able to arrange for counseling. Maybe they do it twice a week instead of the once a week. They arrange for twice a week, so that instead of the 6 months, they are doing maybe 3 months.
yeah.
What's the church's position on that? Is it the lesson that needs to be covered, or the period is what needs to be covered?
Well, nothing is cast in stone or even in iron. But the basic philosophy or principle is that the more you try to do things very simple, the more your marriage will be susceptible to a simple failure.
Hey. The more
The more you just take simple approach,
The more
your marriage will be susceptible to a simple failure.
Wow.
So you see, when you want to build a skyscraper,
Okay.
what do you do to the foundation?
It must be very strong, deep in the ground.
Now look, you see, if this book, people ask me, why is it so big? And I said, why not? If you have been to any good course and you have a textbook, do you expect a good course textbook to be this is just a policy?
Yeah.
Now, when you have a good course, you have a good textbook, you read for yourself and it's for life. This is not just to pass exams, it is for your life. So the lighter the books you read or the material you cover, the shorter you are going to go into your marriage. How high you want your building to go determines how deep your foundations must go. So if you really want to marry for long, make your marriage preparation that long. Now you ask whether it's going to be twice a week or what. It is not about the number of times. It's about the opportunity for both of you to interrogate yourselves. You see, we call it marriage preparation, which should open you up for marriage counseling. It is first of all about guidance. Then it will lead into counseling. Now, have you ever sat in a vehicle and you sat in a vehicle and somebody came to you and then somebody just started selling medicine or whatever? The person is so good that you never intended to buy the medicine and then you end up just saying, well, I guess I should try.
Yeah.
Means the guy is good. It makes you feel. Now, that's what guidance is supposed to help you to do. When people go for counseling, they are exposed to the realities of life. And it makes them ask, I need help in this area. So that if you rush it with just courses on courses on courses, you overlook certain things. Hasty climbers, they say, have hasty falls.
Hasty climbers.
Have hasty
Hasty
falls.
falls.
Bus.
Yes.
Father, Father, you know what? You are so deep, eh? I don't know whether your middle name is the ocean. Well, Father, we've done counseling. What's the next? What's the next?
What's the
stage?
next stage? Okay.
Yeah.
The next stage, this is what technically will be called proximate counseling. What you would have done way before this 6 months is what we call remote counseling. This one. When you are ready, we call it proximate counseling. It's around 6 months. When you are done, that's when you decide, I really want to marry him or her. Then you do what we call immediate counseling. That takes few weeks. That's when you start planning the wedding.
Okay.
You start doing the wedding invitation. You don't do invitation cards whilst you are doing proximate counseling. How do you know you're going to marry the person? You understand? It is pre-judicial. It's too.
Father, which one is the proximate counseling?
The proximate
first counseling
the first counseling is
when we
known
come
as
to the
remote.
church.
No, that's where you deal about this one.
This-
That's
so
where
this is the
this is
remote counseling.
remote. It's
Okay.
distant.
Okay.
So this one, I don't have any partner in mind.
Okay.
I'm a young person.
Okay.
I'm a 25, I'm 30, I'm 35, I'm 16, I'm 12 years, I'm 11 years.
Okay.
I'm building my understanding of marriage.
Okay.
Remote. Okay. Now, I have gotten to a stage, I feel I'm getting close to somebody, and
Okay.
I'm moving from what you call simple dating into courtship. Based on that, I want to take it into the next level. I do proximate counseling for a minimum of 6 months. After that is when I take a decision. You don't take a decision before you go for the counseling. No.
Father, you don't take a decision before you go for the counseling.
Yes.
So at what point,
You take the
as a romantic Catholic man,
Mhm.
at what point do you do that proposal? That's going down on your knees and posing a question. Is it when, because these days it comes as a surprise to the lady. So is it when we have we are done with the counseling where you are very sure that you're counseling,
You are ready.
because when you're going for counseling, people see you going for counseling. There's that perception that 9 out of 10 you're going to get married. At what point do you bring?
Ideally, I just said you have moved from dating into courtship.
Yes.
Dating is very wild, and I mean any outing with guys or guys and ladies can be considered dating.
Mhm.
You understand? But when it moves into courtship, there is a little bit sense of marriage mindedness.
Mhm.
So anytime around that time, there can be the proposal,
Okay.
for which reason counseling
Okay.
will be sought.
Okay.
But this is just an intent. If you received a letter of intent for employment, it doesn't mean you have been employed. So that proposal, whether you go down or you go up, or you even stay in the sea to make the proposal, it's an intent. It's just a letter of, it just, an act is an intention, and let me just give you an example. Like, for example, we had 5, frogs standing by the riverside, and then, 3 of them decided to just jump into the river. How many of them will be left?
2.
2. Okay, your answer is wrong.
We have 5.
Yes, 3 of them
decided.
Oh,
It's true.
you understand? You understand? So that's the whole thing. This is just intent.
It's true.
Okay.
It's
So
true.
Okay.
if I make the proposal, then I'm going to. I mean, it's not yet marriage.
Oh, you got me.
It's not yet marriage. So So that's why I say that. Look, if I propose to you to marry you, I don't have to come and stay in your house and start washing for you, start paying your school fees, start doing it. It's an intent. I say I want to marry you.
Yeah.
I change my mind.
Yeah, exactly. You understand? Until the very day you stand in front of the altar, you should be able to change your mind. Let me just use an example. I was privileged to take some people for surgery outside, and there was one who was going to be the donor, and the doctors kept telling the donor that, look, at every moment you can just say you won't do it again. And I thought they were joking. On the very day the surgery was going to be done, as they were wheeling the person into surgery, they kept asking the person. And then even when they started putting the anesthesia, they started telling the person that, look, if you feel that you don't really want to do it, just give a sign. We just stop everything. When they have prepared everything, these are millions of cedis surgery, yet they are very serious about it. But people enter and they said, we've bought the dress, we've bought this, and we've bought that. What is a dress compared to your suffering for the rest of your life?
That's true.
What's the dress? And what's your soul? Until you stand in front of the altar and make your vow, remember you are not. And the other is also true. As soon as you swear, you don't look back and start saying, I wish I had done something different. That is also not allowed. Okay, so we're done with proximate. We go to immediate. That immediate is where you do your wedding preparation, you do a retreat, you do counseling, and you do confession. You look for the order of the program. Then we look at who to invite and everything. That's the proximate. That's the what do we call the immediate counseling. Then we look at the rites. Imagine that during the rites. So let me just hold your hands like this. Okay. So I said yes. So I take you to be my wife, for better, for worse, for richer, in sickness and poorer, until death do you part. Say amen.
Amen.
Now, are we married?
Mm,
Right now, are we married? We just said the vows,
yes, we just said about.
but are we married?
Yes.
No, because did you intend to marry?
Yes, you intended
Right
to
now,
marry.
did you intend to marry?
No,
by
no.
Okay, so you see,
So
so you see that what's going to happen is that we have to go through the rites. In the making of the rites, it's not just the pronunciation of the words, but the intent that follows it. So even during the rehearsal, everything will be said, and yet there will be no marriage, because you know that it is rehearsals. But when you stand there, the same person, same words, and say it the same day, everything that you did a rehearsal, immediately everything will be done. But remember, even after that, you are still not fully married. Even in church, marriage takes two levels. There is the church level of the marriage, and there has to be the bedmatics. I didn't see that.
Kofi.
I didn't see that.
the people who get tired
so
after
the-
the wedding, they can't.
Yeah, no, most of the time it's because they have had the honeymoon before the marriage. So by the time they are having the honeymoon,
Word.
before they're having the wedding, all the honey is finished.
Hello. 10 bars.
The honey is finished.
Hello.
There will be no honey.
I see.
Okay.
Right. So, Father, we've done the procedure. What I've wanted us to go into, the offices you have to go to and all that. But there is one thing that is, I would want us to take the rubric 11
Okay.
about our Catholic Church and marriages under Ghanaian law.
Okay.
People say they are come to bless their marriages in church. That is to mean that they've done the traditional marriage, or they've gone to see the family of the bride and all. The wife. Or let's look at why is it a case that the church does not recognize the customary law when it comes to marriage of Ghanaians. why is it that when I get married in my house, it is not recognized in the church, and that I must bring it to the church before the church acknowledges that yes, it's marriage?
It looks a fair question, but let me just turn it around for you. If I marry traditionally, does the state have to recognize it just because I did it in my house?
Father, actually, the state recognizes traditional marriages.
The state doesn't recognize a traditional customary marriage. We don't have traditional marriage. All marriages are customary marriage. Those customary marriages are not recognized by the state de facto. You must go and register it. So the very fact that you have celebrated it at home doesn't make it legally binding or recognizable. You have to make an effort to take it to the court and register it. Either you register it as a customary marriage or you upgrade it into ordinance.
Father, that's just okay. I think if I should go into it, we'll be talking a lot more law. But anyway, yes, the state does not recognize it de facto. Again, I think I wanted to add the part where Catholics also marry outside the church. They have to bring it back to the church for blessing before it is recognized. So just
Well, in the Catholic Church, we don't have blessings of marriage. We have a sacrament. We have two people who are marrying. We don't have anything like a blessing of the marriage.
okay.
It is two people who exchange consent before a recognizable minister and with the recognizable at least two witnesses. And when the two of them exchange that vow in using the appropriate words that has been given to them, their marriage is said to have been constituted. So it's not about anybody blessing it. It is two people who are marrying and marrying in a legally accepted manner. So we don't have anything like blessing of marriage. For which reason some people will say that these people bless their marriage. If you are, fresh couples, they call it wedding, and when it's an old people, they call it just simple blessing. Those terminologies are very foreign to us. And in fact, they are not just foreign to us, but they are anti-Christian. They are not, it's not, because the whole concept of it is not properly biblical.
All right. So, Father, the bits of the church not recognizing customary marriages and marriages outside the Catholic Church.
Well, it's not that the church does not recognize the Catholic Church. I like to help us understand. I am British. You are American. You possess an American passport. I possess a British passport. Does the British recognize an American passport to be used in Britain? Can you just go around just because you have an American passport? Can you just flash it around and just have a right of what a British can do?
No.
That's what it means. So we are talking about church. It's an institution on its own. It cannot take something that is foreign totally to it and say that this is what we do. By the way, what do you call marriage in customary marriage? And what do you call marriage in ordinance? And what do you call marriage in the Catholic Church? Though all of them are marriages by name, they are essentially different realities. You are Ewe, I am Ashanti. When I say today I have eaten, when you say today you have eaten, do we mean the same thing? And Ewe will say, I have eaten, because he has eaten akmele, or he has eaten fitri, or whatever. When I say as Ashanti that I have eaten, means I have had some good food to eat. So don't just start and say, because there is customary marriage and there's word marriage there, and there is also ordinance marriage with the marriage there, it means that marriage must be church marriage. Otherwise, why do we come to church? Have you considered what customary marriage does? Customary marriage allows for polygamy. In customary marriage, who is the one marrying? Does the woman have a right? Now ask yourself, even in very typical account setting, who is the one who goes to marry? It is the man who tells his father to go to the woman's father and ask for marriage. So it is the two fathers who are marrying, not the two of them. How can this be marriage for the Christian sense? And besides, in the customary marriage, a man says, I am going to marry a woman. That's why this whole question of man moves into the woman's house to marry. In the Christian sense, it is two people who marry. It's an exchange of consent. You understand? So it's like you picking a word that sounds in your language and then taking it into somebody's language and say that it means this. Why? Because in my language it means this. That's very myopic, simplistic of the very crucial discussions at hand. Marriage is a serious business for every group of people. And for the Catholic Church, it's biblically that between a man and a woman whose bond lasts until death, can never be broken by no human power under the earth. Even when you want to receive divorce or whatever, can never be broken, has never been broken, and will never be broken.
Father, that's I don't know, all the time, this is what you do. You land me to my next question. I don't know how you do it, but you just do it so effortlessly. Can never be broken, will never be broken, should never be broken by any man.
No.
And that is what scares a lot of people because they feel that in the Catholic Church there is no turning back. My father, your book in the rubric 13,
Yes.
book 13
Very
talks is Catholic annulment, Christian divorce.
good. Beautiful.
Is it where does annulment comes in? Because father, people are really going through it. People are really suffering. The young people are seeing couples and they are like, hey, what these people are going through, this is not what I want for my marriage, and so I will not even venture the marriage. Where does annulment comes in?
I'd love you to point out, read again rubric 13 and try to look very intently from the as it said, and tell me something that you notice in there.
Is it the topic?
Yeah, the topic. From the topic.
Is
What?
Catholic annulment, Christian divorce?
Is there nothing interesting there?
So there's Catholic and then there's Christian.
No.
Okay.
All of them. Is there nothing in inverted commas?
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
the
the
annulment
annulment.
So that means that it is not an annulment. It's Catholic annulment. So people call it annulment, but it is not annulment. So I'm using what people will understand. So it is inverted commas.
Yes.
When you go into the book, we don't have anything like annulment. Annulment is equal to divorce. That's why the question has been put so mischievously. But in the Catholic Church, what we do in the tribunal is to do declaration of nullity. The declaration of nullity is simply to state that the marriage in the first place never existed. So when you go to Obuasi or wherever there is gold and you dig the ground and bring the gold out, did you make gold? Did you make the gold?
You dig the gold.
You just dug it out and you just brought it out. You just uncovered the gold.
Yeah.
So what we do is that you can look into a marriage, look at the foundations that brought it together and saw that there was a fundamental deficiency. And then you declare that this arrangement that was presumed to be a valid arrangement was never valid in the first place. That is what we call declaration of nullity, which many people would want to call it annulment.
Father, is it not the English name for, or is it a synonym for annulment? Declaration of nullity and annulment. Where do we strike the difference?
The strike of the difference is to go into what we call the famous pink sheet judgment. Or if you want, let me use what is in recent terms we call the MP, they call Jachikwesin. Okay, Jachikwesin was an MP, presumed MP, until the Supreme Court found that his documents that he used at the time of putting in were not as was required. So he was not sacked as an MP, but the documents were declared not up to. So he was only asked to step aside because he was never an MP. And he went back to come and then become. So Jachikwesin came back to Parliament. Did he come back to Parliament? No. He has now rather come to Parliament because all the time he was there, he was declared null and void. So you couldn't have sacked him. You are only saying that his presence there in the first place, he shouldn't have been there. So it's not about impeachment. Impeachment is another language for divorce. You understand? I recognize you have a right, but you have misbehaved, so I break it. But in this case, I say that just like a mother who discovers that the child that she has taken care for 20 years was never her child because that child was swapped at time of birth. If the mother lets the child go, has the mother abandoned her child? The child was never hers in the first place. But if the child was actually the mother and the child misbehaves, even though the child lives afar, the mother always has a child. That is the same principle we are saying that in the Catholic. Once a mother has a child, once two people are married and everything is properly right, no human power on earth can declare that a mother's child is not her mother's child. Or two people married are not actually married. This is not Catholic teaching. This is biblical teaching. And it is the Catholic Church bases itself on scripture.
I think the understanding is clear. Unless Rita has a question, I would want to give Father one last one in the content of the book.
Yeah.
And then you'd give Rita will come in with a question. Father, I think I'm very much interested in when we were having our earlier preliminary conversation, you made mention of some things in marriage. You even made mention of birth. I think you said it's rather birth control in marriage and all that.
Birth regulation.
Birth regulation. Father, I think rubric 9
Yes.
talks about violations against marriage and family life, and in there are interesting. There's a list of interesting things I'm seeing. The A part, eh?
The A. Abandonment.
No, not that one.
Abortion. Which one?
Not the adultery one.
Which one? The B. The abortion.
After the abortion.
Adultery.
After adultery.
Anal intercourse.
That's right.
Artificial insemination. Bestiality, bigamy, polygamy, birth control, child marriage,
the
cohabitation,
yes. Father, let's delve into that bit. People are married. Before marriage, I'm told that I don't have access to my wife. I don't even think people actually follow that. You don't have access to your wife and all that. Now I have access to my wife. And they're calling certain things violations. What are the violations and why are they violations in marriage?
Well, anybody who makes a machine has a manual and has expectations. And to every freedom, there is some form of limitation. If I have right to my wife, do I just have right to my wife at any time, at any moment? If men were to think about this very clearly, they will see that that's a very serious thing. Just imagine if your wife Do you know? Do you imagine when a woman is just about going through ovulation or going through her, last days of, and when she's about to flow, the physiological changes that happens within her makes her not ready, and you just say, "I have right to you." That's serious. That's
Very serious.
insensitivity.
Very insensitive.
Why? Because most men never learned about menstruation. That's why one of the issues here is what? Menstruation stereotypes. Because people think that when a woman is menstruating, she's just ready for sex. She can now have sex and things like that. And so this freedom of or ability to, I say wedlock is sex lock, but it's a place where you are able to, but one has to, comes with responsibility. You can't just do it at any time, because it comes, even, can you imagine, if I can do it and it's my wife, can I do it in the street? Why can't I? It's my wife. Why shouldn't I? There are laws. You understand? And when we talk about control means that if I say get up and I force you, that's control. If I ask you, can you please get up? She decides whether she gets up. So in exercising of the sexual act, you use regulation. You think that, okay, this is a good time not to do it. This is a bad time to do it. The cycle of the woman gives very fertile times and certain fallow times. Does the man know about it, or he only knows about his appetite? But that appetite, where does it come from? Does it come from one that is informed about a woman's biological clock or biological state right now? In my book, this one, I talk about a very funny story, but it's a real story. A man who is watching football, and his team wins, and his team wins just before halftime, and he got so excited with his wife. They just finished Sunday, and then the wife was cooking in the kitchen. His team won, and he was so happy. He goes and calls, says, "Ajua, Ajua, Ajua, come." Just takes Ajua to, they say, put the fire of the food. Just takes Ajua to the room, and then just have his way, pam, like that. And then Ajua comes back. Then he goes back to watch the football. Now, is Ajua that a sex toy, even though in marriage? Was Ajua in a fertile period? Was Ajua wanting it? What is this man? Who trained this man? Where did he come from? Who nurtured him? It's serious. He's a boy who looks like a man. This is serious. You understand? So, but that's what we call, this is control, but regulation. Regulation comes with a lot of, respect for the indignity of the other person, and you do it well.
Okay. I think your last words answered the part where when people are entering into marriages, their mothers tell them that you never say no to your husband.
Anytime is ready.
Anytime is ready, you should be ready, and all that. And that is what has saved their 35, 52 years of marriage and all that.
But I guess that advice is right. But if an adult gives an advice to an adult, you must take it in the context in which it was said. If an adult gives an advice to you like that, and you take it so hook, line, and sinker like that without thinking it through, then you are only a boy or a girl. You don't deserve to enter into marriage. Because that's the whole point. At the end of this book, every rubric, I state, marriage is not for boys and girls. Boys and girls just say, my mother say I should play with you. My father say I should. They are not able to internalize the advice and say that, yes, I have to do this, but is it time or is it not time? Boys just do, because it is my mother who says, and it is my father. So I don't blame the advice that comes up. I blame the boy who looks like a man, or I blame the girl who looks like a woman, who never sat under the feet of any counselor, or pretended to be sitting there and never learned anything.
So, Father, you can say that, excuse me, say, it means that foreplay is respect.
Foreplay,
Is respect.
yes, very, very much so. And if you read from this book, foreplay is dealt with very well. How, this is the book, The Great Marriage Illusion, Grade 6.
Okay.
Okay. So this book talks about it, but foreplay is very good.
Okay.
Very good, but in the context of marriage
Of
and in
marriage.
the context of a sexual intercourse that is permitted. Yes. Yes.
Well, the girl, you see, she likes foreplay.
Well, she likes to talk about it because that subject must be talked about. Whereas men would want to have it, but we don't think about it. She is asking the questions so that she will be able to understand. Remember, a woman prepares her sexual, stimulation way from behind. She's like an aeroplane. You have to put one machine there, one machine there, one machine there, turn a gear and everything. Then the plane will become before everything. But men are just like you understand. So what she's asking, I guess, is the best. She's asking very fundamental questions so that her mind will be. For example, I dare put I do not know, but just think of. Do you know the most important sexual organ?
The most important
sexual
on a lady?
Is the mind?
What is it?
No. Was it on a lady?
On the lady or on the man? Yeah.
On a lady, the
Yes.
most important.
Yes, or even for a man.
Oh, for a man, there is the tip of the of the iceberg.
I think is the mind. Like the mind.
You see, there you see a lady. In this book, we treat it. In fact, I say that the most important sexual organ doesn't lie in between your thighs. It lies in between your ears.
Oh, okay.
The mind.
Charlie. So your mind is a sexual organ.
Because it starts from there.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. But men will start from there. I mean, that's a very bad one. So
Yeah.
once again, the ladies on top.
On top?
On top.
Marriage is not for boys and girls. Nations of the laws on marriage is no excuse. Ignorance of them is the worst irresponsibility. Father, we've done a lot of we've touched on very little things.
Minute.
But
Yeah.
I think we've covered a good number of rubrics in the book. Father, what's that rubric we've not covered? We want to touch on it briefly. I think our time was up. We are wrapping up. So what's that rubric in this book? The marathon to marriage, a compendium of remote marriage preparation.
First of all, I just want, when you read the book, it doesn't talk about chapters. It talks about rubrics. Typical for a Catholic priest, when you read liturgical books like the lectionary and the ones that we use, you find some of them written in red and some of them written in black. Those that are written in red are what we call the rubrics. They are the instructions. They are not meant to be read out. They are meant to be learnt so that when you go to stand there, you are instructed how to behave. So this book has rubrics, meaning that the real marriage is there, but the instructions to go about it, that's about the rubrics. So you can't read this and say you know everything about marriage. This is just the instructions before you go. But to crown it, I just want to talk about specs. Spec. Unfortunately, many people have specs when it comes to marriage. That is good, but very, very dangerous. Why? Many people think about specs as what I want my partner to be, instead of what I should be. You must ask yourself, if the Ghana cedi goes in front of the US dollar, The Ghana cedi is not supposed to be telling the US dollar to behave itself. It is the Ghana cedi that must behave itself and put some strings in place before it goes to stand in front of the cedi. Youth must of the dollar. So anybody who intends to get into marriage, your spec must be the things that you are ready to let go, take up. So when you read this book, I have about 25 serious bullets on specs that look at me, not the other. Think about something. Somebody says, I don't want a fat guy. I don't want a fair girl. I don't want a this. I don't want a that. I don't want to see this. I don't want a guy who is this. I don't want. The last time I was told, somebody says, I don't want men in boots. I said, what's the meaning? Mean that the people, military people or police? I said, whoa, I never heard that. But the thing is that if the guy is in police or military and he's the one who respects you, would you go for a doctor who would treat you like a rag? So your specs will kill you. Your specs must be you. How you position yourself like the cedi so that you can meet up with the dollar. So youth or whoever is watching, don't let your specs deceive you. That man may be short, but he may be the best that you can have. That woman could be a very fat woman because you don't like fat women. But I tell you, she's the one who will serve you all your life. Best is that pray into that person. Your eyes may not like, but your heart will take you where you need to be.
Father, this one, I think I have someone this message must go to. And I'll copy this part and give to that person. Yeah. Girl, this guy likes you. But he said, no, you don't like certain things.
I don't like an airware. I don't like this. I don't like that.
Those
are, those are not right. In fact, because you don't like an airware, you want an Ashanti man like myself. You get an Ashanti man, but you're going to be a slave. Probably in my hometown, Ashanti land. I mean, that's just an example, you understand? Yeah. So it's you. It's you. If you see yourself as blessed and prepared, when you enter into marriage, you are ready for what is coming. That's it. Okay.
Father, we've anytime we come to you, it's difficult living. Because you are so rich in knowledge and experience. And I'll make sure that when I get that woman, I'll come to you personally. Father, we are wrapping up. I would want to hear from Rita. Rita, your last words before we go.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions, like a dozen questions. Well, okay, so first of all, the first question is the wait before marriage. The wait before marriage. Good. I want you to really, if you can give us some points, like how to go about it, because somebody will say that I'd rather be with somebody for a few years and then get married to the person, rather than having to date the person, because that would also bring about fornication and all of that. So how are we supposed to go about the wait?
Very, very good question. Nobody plants a fruit and expects a tree the following day. So waiting is part of growing. If there is no waiting, there's no growing. Okay. Now, if the man or the woman cannot wait, what is the guarantee he would wait for you in the marriage when you are not there? So that waiting is a time to be able to tell what you are made of. So waiting is good. Maybe too long. That's why you should not propose to anybody when you are not ready. You are just in level 100 and you are either proposing or being proposed to. Meanwhile, you have to finish school. and work 3 years. This is how many years? 6 years. By that time, the beautiful ones would have been born by that time. So you understand. So no rush. I think that you better wait when it is time. When you know you want to marry the person, you propose, and soon you want to move forward. There are so many people who want to just propose and they're afraid that they may lose you. But why don't they get themselves ready? You see, that's very selfish. If you love a person, you must be ready to lose the person. God so loved the world and he made his son and he lost his son. If he loved the world, why lose your son? That's what love, true love means. So waiting is good, but let's not wait too long too. And premarital sex, when it comes to the book that deals with it, no matter how many sexual experiences you have, it doesn't qualify for the honeymoon. And you get what we call the acquired taste. Now, an acquired taste is something that your tongue gets to know. A child that grows up without eating sugar has not acquired any taste. When it gets into the life and it doesn't have sugar, has no complaints. If you've met 25 guys before marriage and you meet a man, I tell you, what is the possibility that this man cannot satisfy you in bed is very, very high. Why? The problem is not that he cannot satisfy you, but the problem is that you have a high acquired taste.
I see. Another question is age in marriage. When it comes to a man and a woman, I mean, society will say that you should be with a man who is way more older than you, right? What would you say about that? Can it be that you can both be the same age, or the man has to be older, you have to be older? Like, how is this supposed to be? Is there a specific age range when it comes to marriage?
There's no specific age range. The reason why it is said so is that when men and women get to their puberty, men just have it just once and that's all. And it just maybe your voice that keeps being. But for the woman, every month she's reminded that she's a woman. So she has opportunity to think about marriage. So a girl and a boy of the same age, you can expect that the lady is far mature in relationship thinking than a man who just, don't forget, men are seed givers. They are seed givers. That's why their sexual organ is out. Women are seed takers. That's why their sexual organ is inside. You understand? So they keep, they absorb, they keep the things in there. Okay. So like the question that you are asking,
Yeah. The age range. Is there a
age
specific
range. So
age range?
people could be of the same age, but you can find a man who will be very so infantile in respect to the woman. That is why generally it is good for a man to be older, so that it is expected that he would have covered years that the woman doesn't need to cover. However, this is not always the case. There are women who, despite their ovulation and everything menstrual, they still haven't matured in this life. So a woman can be older than a man. There are men who are just 18 or 25 and they think and act like they are 40 years. So age is not per se in that. I'd rather be asking how mature is the person. So if you came to me with a younger man, I wouldn't merely be asking you about the age, but I'd be asking you about how mature is he.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Father.
Now round it up for us.
So I think that will that be your last comment? You've got last comments for me.
Those are my last words. I really don't have anything to ask again. Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You can
Father.
mention the book so that.
Okay, Father, I think, Kofi Tagbo, I am saying that I think the best gift you would ever give to someone you love or someone you want to settle with are the books written by Reverend Father Raymond Osei-Tutu.
Most definitely.
So I think that's the best gift you can ever give to your partner, someone you claim to love, is these books written by Reverend Father Osei-Tutu. We have a twin marriage manual. This is Leave to Cleave and then Cleave to Weave. I actually thought they were the same, or he made a mistake with a name, but it's actually intentional. It's a twin marriage manual. And then The Great Sex. The Great Sex. It's the Great Marriage Illusion, also written by him. But the best of it all, which is one of the first stages on your journey to marriage, the very first counseling, the remote counseling. This is your companion, your guide of remote marriage preparation, the marathon to marriage. Marathon to marriage. I think that if you can't get all these for nothing at all, at least get this one. But are you available for personal counseling, or you do a consultation? You know how psychologists do this therapy and all that. Are you available, and how do people, marriage couples or people courting, how can they get to you?
Well, first of all, let me say that I love the way you put it, that if you love somebody, you can get this gift for them. But if you love yourself, invest in the books also, yourself, so that you can go meet somebody. If you've read it, you can give it out to somebody. But due to my nature, due to my heavy schedule as a pastor, and also having very lots of archdiocesan and responsibilities, I often rather would do the training of I train counselors. I invest in training counselors. I think by that, the knowledge is able to reach far. But if I want to be doing counseling one-on-one, I'd end up only dealing with just a few people. So I have come to see over the years that I'm better of service to the world by training more people, writing more materials, and equipping counselors and counselees to read. So oftentimes I do not do lots of one-to-one. But as a pastor of my church, when the need arises, I have a good marriage and family life counseling team. So we work hand in hand with them, but that is not so often that people would just, come in. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Reverend Father Raymond Robert Osei-Tutu. It's always a pleasure meeting you and tapping into your knowledge. We are praying that this year will be coming here often.
Yeah.
And then learning more. And hopefully maybe CSM can organize a marriage seminar for our married friends and those who intend to marry to come learn something from you. It's been a great. Right, so thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We had a very beautiful discussion on this book, The Marathon to Marriage, a compendium for remote marriage preparation. It's written by Reverend Father, Very Reverend Father Raymond Osei-Tutu. He's the pastor of Saints Anne and Joachim here in Teshi. Thanks so much, Father, for having us. Please do all to like and comment and then share this content. Do all to follow us on all our socials at Calyx for social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Facebook. And on X, which is formerly Twitter, we are there at Calyx Vibes GH. My name is Kofi Tagbo. It's been a pleasure being your host tonight. And before we leave, I want to say a very big thank you to our executive producer. And I think that's all right. And thanks, Rita. Thanks, Rita, for joining us. We hope to see you on the show a lot of times.
Rita.
So, yeah. Thank you, guys. And we say CSM, we say vibes, right?
Yeah.
CSM
Bye.
Vibes.